have enough of what I call conditional patience. You see, a lot of women, when we get in relationships, we give men unconditional love and unconditional patience. But this is what set us up to be taken advantage of and used in relationships. And the only thing that we're left with is feelings of being angry and feeling bitter. But there is a better way. Hi, my name is Sharika Matthews, life coach, relationship expert, and the creator of Feminine Success Mastery. And today I want to talk to you about a concept that I call conditional patience. So let's start with patience. What is patience? The textbook definition of patience is the ability or willingness to suppress your restlessness and annoyance when your needs and expectations are not being met. Let me repeat that. Patience is the ability or willingness to suppress your restlessness and annoyance when your needs and expectations are not being met. You see, a lot of us, when we are so willing to be patient with the people that we love in our lives, we're patient with our children, we're patient with our friends and our parents, and we're also patient with the man that we're in relationship with. But too often we extend these people unconditional patience, well, not these people, but the person in relationship with unconditional patience. But you're going to have to place some conditions on your patience so that you're not in a position where you're being taken advantage of. Because when you place your conditions on your patience, this means that there are some requirements that must be met by him in order for you to continuously extend your patience day after day, week after week, month after month. But for some reason, as much as I hear men complain about women always telling them what to do, it's rare that I encounter a woman who is comfortable enough to tell a man what her conditions are when it comes to being happy in her relationships, when it comes to being happy with him. And part of the reason is that a lot of times when we put ourselves out there, we say what we want, what we need, what we are not going to accept, we will accept. Men push back, and they push back hard. And at some point, sometimes we get tired of being pushed on. So we just let it go. We give up and sometimes we just resign to just getting what we can get out of them. It's better than nothing, right? But then also, the other reason is that women, we have also accepted this false narrative that we have to give men extra grace in order to make up for their shortcomings. And that's a whole nother conversation. I kind of addressed that in my previous video on toxic patience. But one thing I will say is this. I do believe that every man and every woman deserves grace. But I do also believe that you should see fruits from the work that you have done. You should see fruits from the seeds you have planted. So if you are extending grace to someone you're in a romantic relationship with, there should be fruit. There should be some evidence, some good fruits, some ripe fruits that says that you did the right thing by extending patience to them. But if you're constantly being patient, you're constantly not seeing any results, not getting any fruits, you're not getting your needs met, not getting your desires met, you're not happy, then you have created an environment where you have toxic patience. And that is not where we want to be. So when it comes to romantic relationships, having toxic patience in your relationships create this scenario where you have this unconditional patience, where you're going to continue to suppress your feelings, suppress your annoyance, suppress your heart, suppress your desires every time your needs are not being met, every time your expectations are not being met. But I want to introduce to you this concept that there has to be conditions on your patience. There has to be. You cannot have a healthy, thriving, happy relationship if there are no conditions. But don't get that confused with an ultimatum. The difference between an ultimatum and conditional patience is that an ultimatum is for him. Conditional patience is for you. You see, when you put conditions on your patience, you are holding yourself accountable. Because let's be real, we get caught up because he looks good, he smells good, we love him, and we've been together for a while, but you have this gnawing feeling that you're being used, that you're being taken advantage of, or that he may have someone on the side, or he'll never marry you, or he'll never want to have kids with you. We have this gnawing feeling, and that feeling is your intuition that something isn't right. But we often override that feeling in order to say, I'm going to be patient with him. He's going to come around eventually. You just got to work this thing out. And that's why you put conditions on your patience, because we have a good habit of talking ourselves out of good decisions. We'll make a decision to do X, Y, and Z, but if there's no structure, no accountability for making sure that we stick to our guns and say, you know what, I committed to doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do it because I have the structure in place. If we don't, it's hard for us to be accountable to ourselves. So your not your ultimatum, but your conditions help you be honest with yourself. It helps you to say, these are the milestones that we need to reach over X amount of time. And so your conditions could be anything from milestones, like I said, it could be a payment plan, it could be, the number of job applications, it could be time. It's a tangible measure of progress. It's a goal, basically. What just came to mind is you guys have heard of SMART goal: specific, measurable, realistic. I think the A is accountable and T is tangible. You have to be able to see it, touch it, feel it. So if your guy is looking for a job, and I used this example in the last video, if he's looking for a job, there should be tangible evidence. You should see receipts. You should see email confirmation about that he has applied for 20 jobs. You should see the physical confirmation that he has taken his car and driven to a interview, or he has set up his Zoom meetings, or whatever the case is, to show that he's doing the work that shows you that he is deserving of your patience. So whatever your conditions are, it has to be SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and tangible. So, but before we move into, I'm going to have patience. I love him. I know he's a good guy. So I need to restructure this to have conditional patience. But let's understand that there is a process to conditional patience, because you don't want to get to a place where you are just making decisions on your own. When you're in a relationship, you're intertwined with someone else. So if you're going to have conditional patience, there are 3 things that must take place first. Number 1, you have to have a conversation. You have to have a conversation. You see, we as women, we say that we are being patient with our man, but he don't even know. You can't even tell him that you are being patient, right? You didn't even tell him that you are waiting on him to do X, Y, and Z. You didn't even tell him that you're waiting on him to step up. So he's just going along his merry way, thinking that everything is okay because you suppressed your desires, you suppressed your annoyance, you suppressed your needs. So he has no idea. But when you're in a healthy relationship, it is safe for you to say, you know what, honey, I am willing to be patient with you. I am willing to wait on you. But in order for me to do this, I have some expectations that I need to see along the way. And, if these things don't happen, it's really going to be a deal breaker for me. What do you think about this? Is what I'm asking for seem reasonable to you? Do you have another suggestion just to help me feel comfortable in continuing to be patient with you? It's okay to have the conversation, and it's all about your delivery as well. And it's all about his mind, his headspace, because what'll happen is if he's not mentally mature or emotionally mature, it's going to come out in this first step. And if it comes out in this first step where he is not mentally and emotionally mature, then that is a sign you probably want to consider whether or not this is the right time or even the right relationship for you to be in. So step number 2 is that there has to be a mutual desire for change. You see, you can't change no man. The only person you have control over is you. So if he doesn't see anything wrong with what he's doing, if he's jobless and living on welfare and living off of you, if he's perfectly comfortable with that, has no desire for change, there is no amount of conversation, no amount of convincing, no amount of bribery that will convince him to do anything differently. I don't care how much he loves you, how much you love him. If that desire doesn't come from within, he is not going to do anything about it. And so, and what happens is that you become frustrated because you're having this conversation. He's like, well, I got a roof over my head, I got my bills paid, I'm Gucci, I'm cool. So why do I need to change? And that's going to trigger you. That's going to make you angry, right? Why would he want to get a better job or get off of welfare if he feels as if everything is cool? Once that trigger you, guess what? Your conversation turns into an ultimatum. Say, you know what? If you don't do X, Y, and Z, if you don't get up off your butt, go out here and get a job and make a better life for yourself and make a better life for your family, then I'm going to leave you. That's an ultimatum. That's when that attitude, that annoyance comes out, because you're like, how dare you not want better? How dare you not want to change? I want you to change. I love you. I want something better for you. I want something better for us. And you should want the same. That should word, if you have to use that in any conversation, especially when you're talking to your significant other, yeah, something ain't quite right there. That's another conversation for another day. So step number 2 is simply that you both have to have the desire for change, because if he doesn't want to change, he is not going to do it. And you cannot force him to do it. If you do force him, then that creates a teacher-student relationship or a parent-child relationship, to where now you're not honoring his desires. Even though his desires are not what is best for you and the family, you still have to honor him. So it just muddies up the whole relationship. It creates bitterness, it creates resentment. So you don't want to get into a position where you feel like you have to force him to do anything. So that's step number 2. Then step number 3 is that you have to agree on the conditions. Okay, we had the conversation. You asked me to be patient with you. I agree to be patient with you, but you made it clear that if things don't change, it's going to become a deal breaker for you, and he is cool with that. And then you both say, I desire for our situation to change. I desire for us to have $10,000 in the bank. I desire for both of us to have full-time jobs. I desire for us to, move to a better part of the city. You both have that desire. So now that you've had the conversation, you both have a shared desire. You're beginning with the end in mind, quote by Stephen Covey. Now you can agree on the terms of your patience. Okay, because the economy is not what it used to be, I think I'm going to need about 6 to 9 months to find a job that matches my degree and matches my experience. But in the meantime, I am going to take a job at McDonald's. I'm going to drive a truck. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z so that I can help alleviate the burden off of you. Or, we really need, our family is growing and we really need to move to a different part of town. So what I'm going to commit to doing is we're going to both agree to put aside $500 a month. You put aside $500. I put aside $500. Right now, my salary doesn't really support me saving $500 a month. But what I'm going to do is get a part-time job to make that $500 a month, so I can put it up towards saving, so that we can both achieve our desire for change, which is to move to another side of the city. There has to be conversation. Remember, this is a conversation with your partner to achieve and to come into an agreement on a goal. That's really all this is. You guys are in a partnership. If you're not in a partnership, then are you really in a relationship? So this is how you break this cycle of having toxic patience in your relationships and creating what I call nurturing patience in a healthy relationship. So if you find yourself exhibiting these traits of having toxic patience in your relationships, it's really time for you to ask yourself, am I in the right relationship? Is this the right person for me? Is this the right relationship for me? And is this the right time for me to be in a relationship? But one of the things I don't want to happen though is to move from having toxic patients and move from being in a toxic relationship and then jumping into a mediocre relationship. We don't want to jump out of the frying pan into the fire. So what I've done is that I have created a video where I share with you the top five reasons why a lot of successful women are jumping into mediocre relationships. If you want to get a copy of that video, go ahead and head over to my website, sharikaamathews.com, and click on free gift, and you can get access to that video right now. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. And as always, be bold, walk in your brilliance, and be completely unstoppable in the pursuit of your heart's desire for your life and your relationships. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.